Hey everyone, and welcome to the Sunny Go One Piece podcast. I am here again with my friend Sandra, and we just came back from watching One Piece Film Red. And yeah, so this episode we're going to review the movie. It's going to be spoilers for the movie itself, so if you haven't seen the movie, definitely go out and see it. But also there's going to be a second layer of spoilers for anime-only watchers, because Sandra's only seen up to a certain point in Wano, so I'm going to keep most of the third act and the post-manga stuff out of the main section of this podcast, but I will record a separate spoiler section for those of you that are interested. Also, just an added note, in order to really appreciate this movie to its fullest extent, you should probably have already seen at least up to the end of the Whole Cake Island arc. But yeah, go ahead and introduce yourself again, Sandra.
Hello, I'm Sandra. Like Kay said, I have only just started the third act of Wano, so please, Kay, no spoilers. My makeup look today is Odette inspired because I've been.
Oh, really?
Yes. This is why I look this crazy. So you'll have to check out Kay's Instagram to see a picture of what my makeup looks like.
Yeah.
But I just started Act 3 of Wano. Wano is so cool right now, and all I keep thinking whenever Oden comes on is like, that's a really good, eyeliner look that he's got, and I really wanted to try it.
Nice. So yeah, I guess we'll start off with just our overall thoughts and general feelings on the movie. So Sandra, I'll let you start.
I loved it. I went in with low expectations, as you know. I kind of just feel like all the movies I go in with low expectations because I'm like, it's not canon, it doesn't matter, no stakes. But I actually felt like this one could really feel like canon. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was really funny. I loved all the music. And I just like musicals in general, and I was not expecting this to be a straight up musical, which it kind of was, which I loved.
Yeah, I agree. I really liked this movie a lot more than I thought. And I had decent expectations for this movie too, because Sandra, as you know, I told you I was pretty excited for this movie just because of the fact that Shanks was involved heavily in this movie. But yeah, it surpassed my expectations. I wasn't expecting like Oscar level movie making, but as a One Piece and an anime tie-in movie, this was really good. Yeah, I liked the fact that it was a musical. And also, yeah, the animation design was really, really good, actually. It's just like one step above what Wano's animation is like, which is a testament to how good Wano's animation has been.
Okay, I just watched an episode, the episode where Law and Luffy and Kid all show up. Wait, am I allowed to say that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just saw the episode where Law and Luffy and Kid all show up. And that was like amazing animation. I was like, wow, like what am I watching right now? This is a different anime. It looks so good. So yes, I'm glad that this movie also had amazing animation.
Yeah, and obviously, like all One Piece movies, the comedy is on point. But I think really where this movie stands above the others, and maybe to a certain extent Film Gold, which used to be my favorite, now this is probably my favorite, but they share the same screenplay writer. His name's Tsutomu Kroiwa. He wrote the screenplay for Film Gold, and he wrote the screenplay for this movie as well. And I think you can really tell, like, they basically combine like the best elements of Film Gold, where you have this sort of kind of sympathetic villain who goes on like a corruption character arc, but then they added all the cool stuff of Stampede, the last film, where you have all these like cool cameos and sort of this Avengers Endgame level of characters coming together. Whereas Stampede kind of went overboard with that and like didn't really focus on story at all. Gold has that story, but not like the grand scale. Mm-hmm. This movie somehow combines the two really well.
Yeah, I also, you're talking about like the screenwriter. I want to know who the singer is. Like, is this a famous singer? Because she was amazing.
Yeah, so I've never really heard of her prior to this movie, but it's an artist named Ado. Yeah, she basically sings every single song. And yeah, New Genesis is a banger. I love New Genesis, the song that plays at the very beginning and then during the trailers as well. And but I tried to not spoil myself by listening to the other tracks because they were all released as well at the same time. And so I only listened to New Genesis. But then when I got into the movie, I was like, man, all these other songs are amazing too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's been okay. We watched this like what, 1 day ago, 2 days ago.
I think 2 days ago, yeah.
2 days ago, and I've been listening to the soundtrack like on repeat. It's so good. Like I love. They're all really different songs too. So there's like some rock ballads. There's some like pop songs. There's like heavy metal. Like it's really cool how they it's all really good, really different. I love the song in the end credits.
Yeah.
That was like very good. I was just crying through that whole thing.
Yeah, you were.
I cried a lot in this movie, actually. And then another question I had was like top musica. Like that wasn't Japanese, right? Or was it Japanese?
So I actually looked it up. Apparently, taught in German is death. So it's really just death music. I think is what it means. But yeah, I like that song though. Like it's kind of, especially like how she's basically singing in like a different tongue, and even the subtitles were like weird symbols.
That's
for
why
that
I was
song.
wondering. I was like, what language is this? Or did they literally just make it up?
But it's also cool how the songs kind of, as she goes, it progressively also shows like her descent into like madness. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I loved all the music.
Which was another surprise to me, was the fact that Uta was the villain. I don't know why I never put it together with the trailer.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. I did not realize that at all.
But yeah, Uta turned out to be the villain of the movie. Or I guess you could say the top musica was the ultimate villain, but I think Uta pretty much serves as a villain.
Yeah.
I think that's probably my one I have two criticisms with the movie is her motivation is really confusing though, because of all the different twist reveals regarding her. Like first of all, it's revealed that Shanks abandoned her, but nope, he didn't. And then it turns out that
she knew.
First of all, the second thing that they reveal is that she was the one that caused the damage.
Right.
And then the third twist reveals the fact that she knew that she did all that and that Shanks didn't leave her behind. So it's like, why was she so mad if she knew everything?
Yeah, no, I get what you mean, but I think it makes sense. Like, she's someone that's still, like, at the end of the day, she was abandoned, and that doesn't matter, like, what the, reason was. And even if it was, like, because it was for her, like, that still leaves a mark on someone, right? That's still gonna, like, impact her. And I think like if she's still, I think a big part of it is that she's so sheltered. Like she's and all she sees is like the news of pirates like destroying the world, right? So I think that combined, it kind of twists like the way that her mindset, like growing up, right? So I can totally see her, that kind of thing just festers and like grows worse as she grows older. I liked it. I thought she was a really good villain, or I don't know what you antagonist. Yeah. I want to say anti-hero because of the Taylor Swift song, but yeah. I think I thought that was really interesting, and I love a good gray antagonist, not very black and white. So I really liked it. I thought the old guy was going to be the villain the entire time.
Oh, I can see where you think Gordon would be the main villain. I mean, in the very first scene when he's like looking at the concert, I thought maybe he was going to be the main villain, but then it became pretty clear that he wasn't.
Yeah, but what I actually liked was like, so I thought that, I was like, oh, the twist is he's the one that's manipulating her this whole time. But it turns out, I mean, he kind of did, but it was because Shanks told him to. So I liked that it wasn't so like obvious, right? It was a grayer situation. It's just like an unfortunate series of things that happened.
Yeah. I think they did a pretty good job for the most part. I just wish, her motivation was a little bit more clearer, because I feel like they could have just left it at she didn't know. If they just left that third twist out, I think it would have worked perfectly, because then it makes sense why she's still so angry with the
Yeah.
world and with pirates and with Shanks in general.
Mm-hmm.
But then you add that unnecessary twist on, because I still am trying to figure out what the purpose of that twist was, to absolve like Gordon.
I mean, yeah, I like I said, I think it's just muddy. Like it's not, you know, and it's the same thing. Like her dream is not really evil, right? I mean, I'm putting air quotes. No one can see me, but
Yeah.
it's not technically like an evil plan. Like she has a good intentions. I'm still doing air quotes right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it just adds to that. Like I think the whole thing was very morally gray, which I really liked about the whole movie. And it wasn't like a, you know, XYZ happened and made this person evil and da da da. It was like, here's a bunch of different things that happened to someone who is a young person and, you know, really impacted her like mentally and emotionally. And it, you know, warped her sense of reality. And I really liked that. I liked how nuanced it was.
Yeah, this movie does a really good job of balancing all of that. I do wish it focused a little bit more on Uta and Shanks's relationship. Like I wish they devoted a little bit more time to fleshing that out.
Mm-hmm.
I know if you watched it, so there were 2 episodes that kind of accompanies this in the anime. So episode 1029 and episode 1030 kind of show a little bit of the history between Luffy and Uta as kids. You see a lot of those scenes in the movie, but they're much more abridged, and they're kind of in the show to kind of build up that relationship, and it does kind of add to that friendship between Luffy and Uta, especially that moment where she's on the verge of like stabbing Luffy and killing him. Like that moment, you kind of really understand even more so why it pains her so much to basically murder. She's about to murder Luffy. Which, by the way, yeah, if you wanted to add a little bit more, you should go see episodes 1029 and 1030. It's not absolutely necessary. Like, I think even in Japan, for the folks that went to see the movie on opening day, those episodes even hadn't aired yet. Like, they were airing at the time it was debuting. So, like, I'm sure some of those people who went on opening night hadn't seen episode 1030 yet. I think 1029 was out by the time the movie premiered in Japan.
Did you watch those episodes before we went to go watch the movie?
I did, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I think it added a little bit. Not too much, though.
Okay. Gotta check it out.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess let's move on to talking about some of our favorite things or favorite moments or favorite characters in this, because I had a lot.
I do, too. I have a huge list right here.
I think, go ahead.
Okay. I was going to say, do you want to go first?
No.
All right. I had costumes. Like,
yes.
Outfits.
The outfits were so great.
They were so good.
Elvis, Jinbei, Boombox, Frankie.
Yeah. Yeah. And when Usopp came out, that was so funny.
Yeah, Kiss Usopp.
Yeah. I just really loved Nami and Robin's outfits as well. First of all, because they were relatively covered up.
Yes, that's the other thing I love about this movie is they really cut back on the fan service. Like it's almost non-existent aside from the fact that Nami and Robin are in their usual kind of revealing, but they're not as revealing as they've been in the past.
I loved those looks. Nami has like a Coachella like music festival look with like the makeup and everything, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And then one thing that I really liked about Robin's look was her hair, and it made me, I didn't realize how much I didn't like Robin's hair until I saw it like this, because I was like, oh, her hair looks normal, because normally it's like slicked back, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I like let's see more of Robin with normal hair and not slicked back.
Yeah, you know, it's funny you say that because I've never liked Robin's post-time skip design. Like, yeah, I just think she just looked better with bangs. Like, I really miss her pre-time skip look.
Yeah. I didn't realize how much I didn't like her post-time skip look until this movie, when I was like, oh,
yeah, her hair
so
was
much
nice.
better.
And it's a nice in-between. It's like, obviously it's different from her pre-time skip look, but it doesn't make her look like she's like a Yakuza person with like slicked hair.
Yeah. It's very on trend, the wavy split down the middle look. Yeah. I also had just the setting in general. So have you been to like a music festival before? Like,
no, but I know what it's like.
I like it. It was very fun. Like, obviously, I always love the whenever we get to see the crew just hanging out. That's probably like one of my favorite things about the movies, and just like even fillers or just like the in between the major arcs of One Piece. Love seeing the crew hanging out and like doing normal day-to-day activities. And I loved seeing this, but in a music festival setting, because it just brings back memories of like, going to like these shows where you like camp out with your friends, and then, people are in charge of different things. Like someone's in charge of like cooking, like someone's in charge of like making coffee in the mornings, like someone's in charge of like, it was just really cool seeing them all hanging out and doing that. So that was one of my favorite things.
Nice. Yeah, I really loved the interaction between not just the Straw Hats, but every character in general. But I think for me, one of my coolest things was how they utilized all the cameo characters.
Oh my god.
Like,
yes.
They were used so perfectly. Like every one of them except for one, I feel like had a justifiable reason to be there. And the one person that I felt like was completely unnecessary was Khalifa. Like, what was she doing? She was just like standing there watching.
Oh yeah. That was very random.
But I think the three standouts for me. Well, actually, no, there's four. They're all standouts. But like for me, Kobe, Bartolomeo, Brule, and Bluno.
Oh my god, Bluno!
Like, I did not expect to see Bluno in this movie because like I don't think he shows up in any of the trailers, and I tried to stay as far away from spoilers as possible. So I had no idea that Brule, Oven, and Bluno were all in this movie. And when they showed up, I was like, that's weird. Why are they in this movie? But then as the movie progresses, you're like, this is so awesome.
I did not expect to ever love Bluno, but I loved Bluno in this movie. It was so funny.
Yeah.
That's on my, I wrote down some of my favorite funny parts, and yeah, Bluno just being a little chibi Bluno was so funny.
Yeah, chibi Bluno, chibi Beppo, and then chibi Sunny was really...
Oh my god, chibi Sunny was so sweet.
I know.
It was so cute.
I love the anthropomorphized Sunny.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Other funny parts I had just Beppo as a fanboy.
Oh yeah, when his like little
his music like thing is just going off in the middle of the serious conversation.
And you just come inside.
Yeah. Oh my god, I love Beppo. Yeah, Beppo, and then just Lob being his chaperone. Like at that part when he first shows up and they're like, "Oh, Law, you're a fan," and he's like, "No." He's like, he is. And then like Beppo comes out. That was so perfect. I just love any of those moments where Law is like just deadpan. Yeah. And it's so funny.
I think for me, one of my favorite things, one of the things that I thought I wish they had done was I was a little disappointed with Bluno and Luffy's first interaction. Because, like, when you think about it, the last time these two met, Luffy kicked his ass with the first time he used Gear Second. Mm-hmm. And I would have expected to see a little bit more, like, something.
Reference to that. Yeah.
But it's just, like, it's almost like they didn't even acknowledge that happened. And they just kind of went on their way. Which, I guess, for Bluno, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's over. It's done with. But yeah, I wish there was a little bit more acknowledgement. Like for example, they did a good job with that with Brule and Nami. Like when I love that moment where the library is collapsing and Nami knows exactly to run to a mirror and just start yelling into it to get Brule to save them. Yeah, because she knows all about that from Whole Cake Island, and I love that sort of continuity and reference to that.
Yeah, and Luffy calling her Branch, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also have here, let's see, I have another funny part was Brooke just, they're like, okay, what can you see? And he's like, I can almost see Nami's panties.
God.
It's like, And then immediately like they're like, okay, what else? He's like, all I can see is panties. I mean, it's very juvenile, but it was hilarious. I thought that was funny. I also have here Sanji saving Brule. That was very funny, but also very sweet.
Yeah.
I thought that was very sweet. It was like, haha, and then I was like, oh. Sanji saving Brule and like calling her a lady and stuff, which is like, you know, not treatment that she gets normally, which was very sweet and just made me love Brule more.
Yeah. Brule is a very interesting character because like she's evil but not evil. Like she has her.
She's not evil. She's not evil. There's layers of gray. Okay.
That's true. I mean, I do really love her relationship with Katakuri. Like. Mm-hmm. Her and Katakuri's like relationship is actually really sweet, and how much they care for each other, and the fact that Katakuri shows up.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I mean I want to talk about the final battle in its own section, but Katakuri showing up and like teaming up with Shanks, amazing, like amazing.
Yeah.
And I think for me, being like a huge Kobe fanboy, like I love Kobe. And, you know, if you listen to the podcast, you know how much I love Kobe. But seeing Kobe, like, grow into, like, this leader and, like, very capable guy. And the fact that they even mentioned the fact that he was the Rocky Port hero and everybody loves Kobe. Like, it was just really cool to see Kobe, like, do so much in this movie.
All right. Don't answer. Well, I don't know how you... Don't give me any reaction that would be a spoiler. But is that a spoiler? I had that as a question. Like, what is the Rocky Port incident? Am I there yet?
Yeah, you should have heard about it already.
Okay. Maybe I just forgot.
It's because it's very small. We don't really know much about it at all. It's just mentioned in that meeting at Marijua with like Garp, Chatong, Momosagi, and like Tsuru. I think they're all sitting around the table talking about Zvek and Rocks, or Zvek D Rocks, and they also mention slightly about the Rocky Port incident as well.
Okay, but I'm not supposed to know anything beyond that.
No, nobody does.
Oh, okay, all right. And then like I also like, am I supposed to know that he's a captain?
Who, Kobe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you can edit that out.
he's been a captain for a while now.
I know. I did not realize that. Okay, so we're talking kind of about the all of the different cameos that happen. So I loved that part, but at first I thought it was very random. I was like, this is fan service. They're just throwing in random characters. Like, why is Bartolomeo showing up? Like, that was so random. And then like Kobe and Helmeppo, and then like as the movie goes on, I like that they made it make sense. Like, because it's, you know, she can basically pull in people from anywhere as long as they fall asleep. It like made sense that all these people from around the world would have been pulled in, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I really liked how they portrayed the Uta Autonomy. Like, I kind of guessed that's what her power, or that was what her devil fruit was, just based on the fact that her name was Uta. Like, as soon as I realized she has a power, like, oh, she has the Uta Autonomy. But the way it actually works is really cool, though. I think, it makes for some really powerful like attacks. I'm just like, this is a super OP fruit.
Yeah.
Like you just like listen to it. I mean, sure, there's a easy counter by not listening, but that's harder to do than you think.
Yeah, especially if you don't expect it.
Yeah. The other cameo that I also really enjoyed was seeing Saint Charlos like get comeuppance yet again. Like, I loved seeing how he wanted to take Uta as a slave, but it's like, nope, you don't have power here, and yeah, just seeing a celestial dragon just put in his place.
Is it sadistic of me that I wanted him, like, more violence against him? I'm like, yes, this is the dream world. Like, do something, like, crazy to him. Like, make him feel pain.
I don't think so. Because, I mean, like, you watch what the celestial dragons, and particularly Saint Charlos, all the things that he's done.
Yeah.
Like, I think you're not alone when you really want that guy to like suffer.
So that was like kind of a disappointment for me. I was like, missed opportunity. Like, let's torture this guy.
Yeah, but I don't think you're ever gonna beat Luffy punching him in the face at somebody.
True.
Like that is ultimately one of the most satisfying moments in the entire series.
Yep.
But yeah, so I really like that moment. And another thing I really liked about this movie, not so much about the characters, but like the tone of the movie. Like this movie actually went to some pretty dark places. Like not just that scene where she's contemplating murdering Luffy, which is really hard to watch, especially if you've seen episodes 1029 and 1030. But then like something that One Piece and Oda shies away from is like showing sort of the evils of piracy.
Yeah.
Like that's something that's never really acknowledged all that much in One Piece, other than the fact that yes, there are some villainous pirates, but like how it affects the world with people suffering. Like the movie begins with a montage of like people like suffering and crying out for help against pirates, and yeah, that's not something you really see, and this movie actually makes that a focal point of the story.
Yeah.
Which I kind of appreciated.
The dark side of the Great Pirate era.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love the sort of the commentary on, and this is obviously a theme throughout the entire series, but the fact that it's not so much about flags, it's not about pirates or marines, because clearly we saw bad marines, like Kizaru and Momonga were all like willing to kill the civilians just to get the job done. But then thankfully you have people like Kobe and Fujitora who do respect life and all of that. And so yeah, there are good pirates, there are bad pirates, and then there are good marines and there are bad marines. And so it's like it's much more nuanced, and I like that story presents the idea that yes, pirates are bad, marines are good, but then it's more complicated than that, just like the series presents as well.
Yeah, and talking about themes, I liked the theme of the whole movie being dreams, because it was Luffy's dream to be Pirate King. Obviously, is like the theme, like a theme of the entire series, and just the theme of people following their dreams, and then the whole thing being kind of like a tribute to the 25th anniversary, right, of One Piece. I thought it was a really fitting, theme for the movie. And then Uta's dream too, like, of the new era that she's going to create. And then everyone literally being in a dream world. So I just thought it was really, nicely tied together, and with the overall, broader One Piece world also.
Yeah. One other thing that I kind of didn't quite like about this movie, and I really can't fault it because it's just a natural thing about how this movie's constructed, but I feel like the other 9 Straw Hats really didn't get much to do.
Yes. Yeah.
Because they had to balance out so many other characters, and the fact that Kobe, Law, Bartolomeo, Bluno, like they all took a lot of screen time away from the Straw Hats, and it was more like Luffy and the gang, more so than Luffy and the Straw Hats. Because they didn't really get much to do. Obviously, they were present throughout most of the movie, but it just seemed like they were just there to like clear out cannon fodder when it was necessary.
Yeah, well, what I have on here, one of my favorite parts was Usopp teaming up with Yasuo.
Yes, so let's get into the final battle, because that final battle is easily, I think it's up there in One Piece history for me. Like,
oh yeah,
it's definitely comparable to some of the finales in some of the main series. Actually, like it was really well done. Like, not only was the animation and the sequencing really great, but yeah, Usopp and Yasop pairing up with their advanced observation haki, and then commanding each person to attack, like that was so awesome.
Yeah, that was amazing. I mean, we've not seen. Okay, I feel like I'm getting into spoiler territory, and I'm like, but do we know that Usopp? Am I supposed to know that Usopp has like this amount of observational haki at this point?
Yeah,
Okay.
you see it in it's really only showcased in Dressrosa
Okay.
when he shoots down Sugar from that like huge distance
Oh,
away.
okay. Yep.
The
Yep.
reason why he's able to shoot her down is because he unlocks his observation haki there.
But he doesn't really do it again yet.
Not
At least where I'm
really.
at.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So yeah, Usopp plus Yasop team up, just amazing. And I feel like we don't get enough. Like, we're not reminded enough that, oh yeah, like his dad is on Shanks' crew.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. Well, actually, sorry, before we talk more about that final battle, when Shanks shows up and faces off against Kizaru.
Oh my god, I literally I think you saw it, but I jumped out of my chair.
Yeah, I know. And then you look, and then when it was over, you looked at me and you were like, "Oh my god!" Like your expression was like, "Did you just see this?" like he like pulls his sword out and like puts it to his neck.
Yeah.
And is just like really casual, but like, "Hey, like, can you like step off, buddy?" Like, oh my god, that was really a chills. Like, so good.
Yeah, seeing Shanks like face off against an admiral is always really fun to see, because up until now the only thing we've seen is Shanks stop Sakazuki from basically killing Kobe,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that was just one block. But this time we actually got to see some actual blows, which was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Shanks was amazing in this, like, because obviously up until now we haven't really seen Shanks do much,
Mm-hmm.
but seeing him like unleash his full-on conqueror's haki and even like bring Momonga down to his knees, like that's insane conqueror's haki right there. Because the vice admiral usually never gets affected by that, but even Kizaru's like, oh wow, you even bring down a vice admiral, like it's pretty impressive.
I loved it. What else did you like about the end fight scene?
I think one of my favorite scenes is Kobe directing everyone. Like,
oh yeah,
I got chills watching Kobe like tell everyone what to do. Like, this is like the meek, like nerdy Kobe from the very first episode, telling people like Law, Luffy, like Oven, like Zoro and Sanji, like all of them what to do, and that's just like chills inducing to see. That kind of growth from Kobe is just amazing. And when he was directing everyone to do stuff like Captain America was just freaking amazing.
Yeah, love Kobe.
And then I think one of the cool things was just seeing the different pairings, because obviously they within each reality they paired up, but then those pairs were paired up with another person on the outside with like Shanks's crew and then Katakuri and all of them. And seeing those pairings were really cool too, because they were done intentionally for sure.
Yeah. We had Luffy and Shanks, obviously. Usopp and Yasop. Who is Zoro?
Zoro was paired up, I think, with Beckman.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah.
But yeah, it was just seeing each one of them take down a limb was really cool to see. And then one of the cool things I really loved was the pairing within the dream was Sanji and Oven, and how Oven basically lit Sanji's leg on fire to power it up even more. Like,
I don't think I caught that.
Yeah, it was so cool seeing that, because obviously Oven hates Sanji for what he did to the tea party, but the fact that he was still willing to like give him some power so that he powers up the Sanji's Diablo Jambe, like, is pretty incredibly cool.
And do you have anything else for the?
Yeah, I mean, I'll get into the spoilers section, but yeah, there were some really like blatant spoilers in this final battle. Like, I was kind of shocked because I've seen them do this in the past, like with I think it was movie 7. They did tease like Gear Second before it actually happened in the anime. But there were several of these type things in the final battle that I was actually kind of really surprised to see. But I'll talk about that by myself in the spoiler section. But yeah, I was a little surprised to see like several of these things. And then the last thing, since this isn't necessarily a spoiler because it's actually kind of new detail, but towards the end of the movie when Shanks reflects on how he originally found Uta in the treasure chest, and how it reminded him of himself, which is a new piece of information, which is kind of,
Yeah.
it's monumentally like big.
That's one of the things I had written down as like, is this a spoiler like that I just haven't gotten to yet? But it sounds like it's not. Is when
Yeah. So just to give context, so the scene is where they reminisce on that, and then they cut to a flashback within a flashback of Roger and Rayleigh opening up a chest and finding a baby. We don't see the baby, but it's heavily implied to be Shanks himself. And he's imagining how he was found and grew up on a pirate ship, just as he does with Uta. But then in the manga, we see in the Oden flashback that when he's holding Momonosuke and seeing Hiyori, like Roger comments to everybody saying, "Wow, it's been a long time since we had a baby on board." And at the time, you're like, what baby is he talking about? Could it be Shanks? Could it be Buggy? Maybe it's even Ace. And so now we get an answer. It's pretty clear that it's Shanks, and it's interesting that Oda and the producers decided to incorporate this canon material in the movie, because otherwise I don't think they would throw this in there if it wasn't canon. Because I mean, Oda is a producer on this movie, so he knew what all the elements were that were going into this movie, so it's gotta be canon. And so I thought that was really crazy that they revealed that here in this movie.
That raises so many questions for me. Like, are Shanks and Buggy like brothers? Like, are they like, why were they discovered together as like babies? Like, and very, very interesting, for sure. I had other things that I really loved were just going back to like Sunny. At the very end, I loved Luffy talking to Sunny at the end and like patting her on the nose, like when he's sitting on top of the what is that, masthead?
The figurehead.
And yeah, I wish that we got more of Sunny. Just it would have been really cute to have more interaction with the crew, especially with Frankie. And then also with Robin, because I just think Robin would have had really funny, like cute reactions. And then also the other things that I loved, just the end credit scenes, which really pay tribute to like the 25 years of One Piece, and kind of corny, but everyone united by the song that was like everyone's listening to the same song, and like, this shared theme of dreams and everything. Like I thought that was really beautiful. End credit scene, although it seemed to be rife with spoilers, which I was not pleased with. But
like what?
Okay, so this is the point where if you have not finished Wano, maybe you should stop listening. But I'm pretty sure I saw, please don't react to this, I'm pretty sure I saw Sabo in the end credits, where, and the point where I'm at, he's supposed to be possibly dead. Although, I don't believe it.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
No reaction, Kay, please. So that was one thing. And then other spoilers I am pretty sure I saw is, please, again, no reaction, but Gear 5 in the fight. I'm like not looking at you right now, but... So, like, I'm pretty sure I saw that, but I also think I've seen it before, like, spoiled on Instagram. Like, I've just seen a picture of it, so I knew it was kind of coming.
And all right.
And then the other thing, which is, like, kind of a minor spoiler, but, like, just Jinbei showing up, which... I mean, like, being there part of the crew, which, I mean, obviously I know that he's part of the crew, but at the part where I was at when we watched it, he hadn't come back yet. So that was, like, a minor one.
I actually really liked Jinbei. Like, it was really cool seeing Jinbei finally officially part of the crew and part of a movie. Like, that basically sort of solidifies him as finally a full-time Straw Hat and with the crew for good now, which is really cool to see after... having been teased for so damn long.
Yeah.
And finally seeing Jinbei officially part of the crew was really awesome to see, especially seeing how powerful he is. Like, he just elevates the crew's power level to a ridiculous extent. I mean, a fisherman warlord of the sea, or Shichibukai, is on the crew now.
I mean, I literally I watched the episode last night, like where he shows up.
Yeah.
So I was like, holy shit! Like it's so cool when he shows up. Yeah, I like cried tears of happiness, and I had some questions for you. So this one, I don't know if this is like an important question. You can probably cut this if it's not. But why was there a wake mushroom in Sanji's basket? Like that just seemed really weird.
I think that was just a story mechanic to show
that it exists.
Yeah, to basically have Sanji be able to understand what's going on and to relay to everybody what was happening with Uta, why she won't fall asleep.
Yeah.
I mean, that was just kind of lazy writing.
All right. Okay, this one's a very important question.
Okay.
Was that an intentional Harry Potter reference?
I don't know. I would imagine so. Because, yeah, they look, the students of that music school.
Yeah, so for context, right, there's a scene in the movie where in Elegia, right, the country that they're in, which is all about music, they have a school for music, and all the students are like walking around and they're wearing black cloaks, but like with like Gryffindor red or like Slytherin green.
I mean, it's basically Harry Potter like school uniforms. If you put them side by side, anyone would be like, "Oh, these are animated Harry Potter students."
Yes.
Like, they look so much like Hogwarts students that I cannot imagine that was not intentional.
Okay.
Because it was so obvious.
Yes.
Like
thank you.
Because I turned to you and I was like, Hogwarts students.
Yes, I know, and it's hilarious. So we can now say Hogwarts. One Piece canon.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I loved about the movie. I don't know. I guess if I were to give this a rating, I would definitely put it up there in like an 8 out of 10 for sure.
I think I gave the last movie an 8 or a 7, so I'm gonna have to give this one like a 9.5.
Oh wow!
I know. Maybe my scale is like getting a little like too skewed, but
up there.
But no, I loved it. I love a good musical. It was great. I feel like even as just a standalone movie, not even as like a One Piece movie, like it worked really well.
It does, but also you can't watch this without having seen this series.
Agree. Fair.
Because there's just so much that it builds upon. Like, especially if you want to see this movie, and I mean, obviously, if you've listened to this point, you're
hopefully you have seen it.
But I mean, you have to have seen at least to the end of Whole Cake Island, or else you're not going to know who the hell Brule and Oven and Katakuri are.
Yeah.
Like, all of that dynamic is just out the window. As well as the fact that Jinbei is with the crew and a lot of other things like Kobe and Helmeppo's promotions and the Rocky Port incident and all that stuff is fairly recent. And so if you're not caught up to at least the end of Whole Cake Island, you won't get it. But then again, like I mentioned, there are some spoilers even for anime only watchers, like beyond into the manga, which is crazy. So I don't really know where you could really... They do a good job of hiding a lot of that stuff, but at the same time, it's there. And so, yeah, I don't know. I would say at the bare minimum, you have to be at least through the end of Whole Cake Island.
Yep.
To be able to fully appreciate this movie. But yeah, well, that's it. Thanks for listening. I'll be back with a spoiler section talking about all those elements on my own. But yeah, thank you, Sandra, for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
And hopefully we'll have you back for another episode. I don't know, maybe the next movie, or even maybe a regular episode.
That would be awesome.
Alrighty. Bye. So yeah, that was my review of One Piece Film Red with my friend Sandra. And if you did enjoy this, send me a like or comment. And if you want to join me on this journey of rewatching One Piece, please consider subscribing. Check out my Instagram and Twitter account at SunnyGoPodcast if you want updates of when I post new episodes or see some pictures of my manga collection. Please check those out as well. Also, I've recently started to stream via Twitch, so if you want to come chat or watch me play games, I'd be happy to see you all at twitch.tv/sunny_go. That's 2 underscores and GO. But yeah, as always, I wanted to thank you for taking the time out to listen to my podcast. Next podcast, I'll be back to cover the final remaining episodes of the Water 7 arc and finish that off. And yeah, there's obviously, like I mentioned, there's going to be a spoiler section to an already spoiler filled movie review, but there are a few things that I wanted to talk about that I think are so far into the future that I think they do warrant an extra layer of spoiler warning. So we'll get to those in a few seconds. Anyways, thank you very much. Bye. Alrighty, so there's a few things that this movie kind of overlooks, because at the time, or not overlooks, but includes, and yeah, because at the time, the first one is the fact that Nami has Zeus back. Because I believe at the time when this was originally released, I mean, it was a very short time where Zeus basically betrays Nami and goes back to Big Mom, and there's a period where she doesn't have Zeus, and then obviously, I think in the most recent episode she gets Zeus back in episode 1031 or 1032. I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, so during this movie, depending on where you are in the anime, this moment is interesting because Nami does have Zeus back. But yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen that portion of the series, this moment might be a little weird to you, but yeah, it's not that big of a spoiler. The other crazy thing that we saw was the fact that in the final battle we saw Robin's new attack, the Gigante Fleur, which she ends up using on Black Maria. Now I know for a fact this moment has yet to actually appear in the anime, so I was a little surprised to see that showing up here in this movie as well. But not any more surprising than the fact that we saw Gear 5th model Nika here in this movie. Now they did a decent job of trying to hide it, but it's clear when when it does the close up of Luffy's face, it goes from his Snake Man face and then it becomes black and white. So you can't quite tell that something's changed, but it's clear that he has sort of the cloud eyelashes and sort of the Nika look. And then it's pretty clear to see when it's that shot from the back where we have both Luffy standing next to Shanks in front of the Tot Musica, and it's clearly he's in Gear 5th and he's in the Nika form, and so definitely that was really shocking to see that was included in, because even in the anime we're still a ways off from seeing that. I mean, we're getting close, but yeah, I mean, we're still looking at probably close to like 30, maybe even 40, depending on how long they stretch some of these things out. And so, yeah, that it could be at least another 30 episodes before we even see Gear 5th. And then the last thing I kind of wanted to mention is clearly towards the end of Wano, there is that moment with Shanks where he kind of ominously decides, okay, now's the time to go after the One Piece. And you kind of get like villain vibes from Shanks, but I think with this movie, it's pretty clear, cut and dry that Shanks is still going to be a good guy for the most part. He's not going to oppose Luffy and in his sort of pursuit for the One Piece as well. My take on this sort of dynamic is, I think what it's going to come down to is that Shanks is probably going to sacrifice himself at some point. And the reason why I say that is because I think Shanks is obviously the mentor character. You know, he's going to be like Gandalf, Obi-Wan, that type, Dumbledore. Like, you see those characters and he's the mentor to Luffy. And, eventually he's just going to hold that position until it comes time for him to sacrifice himself. And I think how that's going to play out is, my thinking is that he's going to go find the One Piece and hold it off for Luffy, at least until Luffy can arrive there. Because I think it's going to be a situation where Blackbeard is going to get really close before Luffy and the Straw Hats can get there. And so it'll be up to Shanks to basically hold Blackbeard off until Luffy arrives, I think. And because they definitely play up sort of that relationship between Shanks and Blackbeard, particularly with the scar on Shanks' his face, and the fact that he still mentions that that scar is the only one that sort of still bothers him. And I think there is sort of this destined fate meeting between the two, and eventually they're going to have to settle that and resolve that conflict as well. And I think that's how that's going to play out, is that Shanks will go up against Blackbeard and ultimately lose, but buy Luffy enough time somehow to get there. And then, ultimately, I think Luffy is destined to face Blackbeard as the final boss of the fight, or of the series, because it makes too much sense, especially now that Luffy has been revealed to be essentially having the powers of the sun god up against the ultimate darkness, with the Yami Yami no Mi, with Blackbeard. And so I think that's really the end goal right there, is Luffy, who's the literal sun god, bringing the dawn to the darkness that Blackbeard presents. And so, you have everything surrounding Imu or Im, or however you pronounce that, and then Akainu and the Marines. I think I don't know what their role is going to be towards the end of the series, because obviously they're also a very big looming threat as well. The world government is probably a bigger threat than Blackbeard, but I'm not entirely sure how that's going to wrap in. So that's the extent of my theory crafting. But I think that's how things will play out with that trio, with Shanks, Blackbeard, and Luffy. And so, yeah, I think this pretty much confirms, at least to me, and obviously you could look at it in many different ways, and Oda could obviously make a twist, but I just don't think it'll fit Shanks' character at this point to have him do this sort of 360 and become like a bad guy or an antagonist to Luffy in his pursuit for the One Piece. So that's just kind of my thoughts, especially after having seen this movie. I think it reaffirms in my mind that Shanks is going to be a supportive character for Luffy, more so than an antagonistic one. Anyways, those are kind of my spoiler thoughts based on having seen this movie. But yeah, definitely go check this movie out. Although, if you're listening to this, then I don't know why why you haven't seen the movie yet. So, but yeah, if you haven't for some whatever reason, definitely it's worth checking out. I think it's one of the better, if not my favorite, One Piece movie of the 15 that have so far been released. But thank you for joining me, and thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode. See ya.